We're good?
Yeah.
All right, hi 7B. Welcome to Ellie's room. Hi, Ellie.
Hi.
Hi. Ellie's recording me on her whiteboard here because I didn't want to miss your first algebra class. So let's get started. Let's start with the basics. If I write that on the board, all of you are intelligent enough to know what goes in the box, right? You're all like, well, something plus 2 is 6. Oh, it's got to be 4. So obviously that's 4, right? Well, in algebra is essentially just taking the box away, right? Instead of a box, we're going to use a letter. In this case, we'll use X. You can use any letter that you want in algebra. You might see a T, you might see an S. The trick with algebra is to always make sure that you're using a cursive version of the letter. Think about it for a minute. If instead of a cursive X, I drew a regular printed X, you're going to get that confused with a multiplication symbol, right? So if you're choosing the letter T, you're going to want to make it a little curly so it doesn't get mixed up with a plus sign. If you're choosing the letter L, you're going to want to make it curly because if you don't, you're going to mix it up with the number 1. So whatever letter you're choosing to use, just make sure it's cursive and curly so that it's easier not to mix it up, okay? All right, so that's essentially what algebra is. Now this is a really simple one, of course. It gets much more complicated than that, but that's where we're going to start. Now, I'm going to write out one that looks a little bit more complicated because I want to give you a chance to understand the terminology that we're going to be using, okay? So if I write this, right now you're going to learn the words that you need to use in algebra. So this entire thing is called an equation, okay? Think about the fact that the word equals is inside the equation. It has an equal sign and it has 2 sides. Equals, the whole thing is an equation. Does that make sense? Each section here is called a term. So that's a term, and that's a term. And if all I'm talking about is this center part in the middle, without the answer, instead of being an equation, this time it's called an expression. All right? I've got this all on an anchor chart for you. Don't panic. It's written down. We're getting there. Okay? So I'm going to take those 3 terms away and I'm going to teach you some new ones. I'll just rewrite it. It's easier. Did I have minus 7 equals 5? Okay, so we have the expression, we have the equation, and we have the terms. This time, let's look at each individual one. Any number that gets multiplied to your letter is called a coefficient. The letter itself is called a variable. Your addition or subtraction or your multiplication signs, whatever, those are called your operators. And one other thing, numbers like that don't have a variable attached to them, those are called your, I'm checking again so I didn't get it wrong, those are called your constants, okay? So, we're going to take a break. I'm going to ask your supply teacher to press pause right now because she has a copy of this to give you for your notes. It's a gray paper. We were running out of blue and red and all the other colors, so it's on gray this time. So this one should go into your blue duotangs. Press pause, Ellie. Are we back? Excellent. Okay, so you should all have that gray sheet put into your blue duotang. Don't leave them under the table, people. You know who you are. I'll know who it belongs to if you do. All right, so let's say I give you this equation. All of you right now are going, well, duh, it's 5. X equals 5. That's true. That is the right answer. But in algebra, in order to get all the marks in algebra, you need to do all of the steps. There are steps that go in here. If you put that on a test, well, that's nice. I'll give you 1 mark. But there were actually 2 marks to get in this question. So let me show you how to do the steps that go in the middle. Imagine for a minute that your equal sign is the center of a balance, okay? So a scale. Some things fit on this side, some things fit on this side. So your equal sign is here in the middle. Everything on this side has to balance with everything on this side. They have to never be tilted one way or the other. They always have to balance. And in order to make that happen, you have to do it every step of the way. So whatever this line of your equation says, and the middle line and the bottom line, it always has to be in balance. So if I look at this, I'm going to take my answer away for a minute. What I want to do, what my goal is to isolate the variable. That means get the variable by itself. That means get the letter x by itself. So that you can see is the answer. The x by itself is 5. That's my goal. But in order to make that happen, I have to separate the x from what it's attached to. And in my equation up here, my x is attached to a plus 10. But I want to get the x by itself. In order to detach that x from the plus 10, I need to do the opposite of addition, right? To undo addition, what do you have to do? And in your brain, you're like, subtraction. Exactly. If I have x plus 10 and I want to detach that plus 10, I have to subtract 10 from it. So on the left side of my equal sign, I'll put my equal sign there. See how they all line up in a nice, neat row? That's good format. You should do that too. So, oh, Kara, Lena, that's you. Okay, so make sure your equal signs line up right there. And Emma and Nicole, you too. Anyway, to detach the plus 10, I need to subtract 10. So what I'm going to do on the left side of my equation is I'm going to say x plus 10 minus 10. That way, that plus 10 and that minus 10 are going to cancel each other out. And all that will be left on the left side of my equation is the x. But here's where the balance comes in. If I'm subtracting 10 from the left side, I've just made this side, this side's lighter. My balance is not in check. I need to do the same thing on my left side. You always have to do the same on both sides. Well, I had 15, I'm sorry, my right side. I had 15 over here on my right side. If I'm going to subtract 10 from my left side, I have to subtract 10 from my right side in order to keep everything in balance, okay? So, to separate my plus 10, I have to subtract 10. Whatever I do to the left side, I also have to do to the right side. So you can see if I follow the lines down, x plus 10 equals 15. I'm going to subtract 10 from my left side and 10 from my right side. What's left on my left side is just the x because those have canceled each other out. And what's left on my right side, 15 take away 10, is 5. It kind of helps to see these as two different problems. If you think of your equal sign, you're thinking about one side over here and the second side over here. If you think of them separately, you can see 15 take away 10 is 5 on the right side. So you now have another anchor chart that has everything I've just explained on it. It's in gray as well. Let's press pause on the video. Let's hand these out. They also go in your blue duotangs, not on the floor. Thank you. All right, so what we're going to do next, we're going to pass out the whiteboards and the dry erase markers and the little pink cloths so that we can try some together. Okay, press pause again and get that done. Okay, let's try these together, everybody. We're going to start with x plus 2 equals 5. And if all you do is write x equals 3, then you are wrong. Press pause, write it out properly on your whiteboard. All right, let's check your answer. I can see that my x is attached to a plus 2. How do I get rid of a plus 2? Oh, subtraction. Subtraction undoes addition. So on the left side, I'm going to put x plus 2 minus 2 to get rid of it. But whatever I do to the left side, I have to do to the right side. So if I'm subtracting 2 from the left side, I also have to subtract 2 from the right side. Line my equal signs up. This plus 2 cancels out this minus 2, leaving me only an x on my left side. 5 minus 2 on the right is 3. How can I check my answers? Oh, you should see Ellie's face. She's like, oh my God, I finally understand algebra. Wow, 8th grade, go boo. The way to check your answer is this, to see if you are right. If x equals 3, and I go back up to my original equation, and I take out the x, and I put in the 3, does my number sentence make sense? 3 plus 2 is 5. That's how you know you got the answer right. Okay, let's try another one. I'll write it out and then you can try it on your whiteboards. I think this time instead of an X, I'll use an M, just for Mira. M plus 6 equals 10. Let's press pause and try it. All right, let's check your work. I've got M plus 6. I need to isolate the variable. I need to get that letter by itself. I need to detach it from the plus 6. How do I undo addition? I undo addition with subtraction. So M plus 6 minus 6. Line up my equal signs. If I'm subtracting 6 from the left, I have to subtract 6 from the right. 10 minus 6. This cancels out this, leaving me only M on the left side. 10 minus 6 is 4. How do we check our work? That's right. Take your 4, use it to replace the variable. Is 4 plus 6 10? You got it right. Okay, so those were the easy ones. Sometimes when your number sentence is written a little differently, they're a little trickier. Let me show you.